Orange Couch Discussions at My Social Practice. Today we have Kristie Nation with us as our guest. Kristie is the CEO and founder of My Dental CMO. She's an author. She publishes monthly in Dental Economics. She has a social media column there. You can read more about the things that she writes about in Dental Economics. She's been in thousands of dental practices over the years and has a great deal of experience in consulting with practices specifically about social media. Thanks for being here, Kristie.
Thanks for having me, Jack. Pleasure to be here.
Well, and we were going to have you point out on this map like the 1,000 places where you've been, but we'll skip that for today.
We'll skip that part. Thanks for having me.
All right. What we wanted to talk about today for a few minutes is Facebook. It's on a lot of dental practices' minds, and I think the first question we'd want to ask you, Kristie, is in dental practice, if a dentist were to say to you, Kristie, why on earth should I be on Facebook? Why should a dental practice be on Facebook? What would be some of the answers that you would give?
Well, I think the first thing you have to think about is why would you want to have a relationship with your patient? You know, that's like saying, why would I want to talk to my patient when they're in the chair right in front of me? Now, Facebook is a platform where businesses, including dental practices, can interact with their patients on a regular basis. You know, if you would give a dentist the choice to say, listen, you could follow a patient around sort of and be with them all week long and be involved in their activities and sort of be like the little guy on your shoulder and sort of see what they do and see how they act and have a chance to be involved with them, would you want to do that? And some people would go, no. And many people will go, well, yes, I'd like to see what my patients like. I'd like to see what they're doing. I'd like to see what their kids are involved in. And so Facebook is really a place where you can interact with your patients on a platform that there are millions and millions of users that are on a regular basis, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of dentists don't understand the relationship between a personal profile and a business page for their practice. Can you just give a little enlightenment to them on that, those who don't understand?
Sure. There's a lot of people who have avoided Facebook because they have started to use Facebook personally and go, well, I'm not sure I want somebody to have to like me and like me back, and am I going to ask, and are they going to say no? And it's important, like you said, to recognize the difference between a personal page and a business page. So a business page is an opportunity for you to have one more face with your patients, if you will. It's not as if I have to send a request and ask my patient, will you be my friend? And the patient can reject me, right? We're all fear of rejecting. We've got people from high school that are asking to be our friends, and we're ignoring. Sure. The business page is a place where you can create your face among the community, and patients can choose to like it with one click.
And the nice thing about it is you don't have to be the only one that can publish content. So if you're a busy doctor and you only have a certain amount of time, this isn't just about you personally, it's about the practice. So you can designate others in your practice to become administrators on that business page, and then they can help you and they can ease the burden that would be solely on you if it were just your page or whatever.
Oh, sure. Most practices that I find, the dentist is not the primary one that's doing the posting on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. They're using their administrative team, they're using their hygienists, they're using My Social Practice. They're using a variety of people to be able to post that content.
Okay, good. I've noticed too, and I'd love to hear your response to this. I've noticed that sometimes when a dentist doesn't understand kind of the mindset of Facebook, it still feels a little bit to them like a traditional marketing tool, like running a billboard campaign or something. And so they feel like the only thing to put on Facebook is, you know, stuff about dentistry. How ought a dental practice think a little bit differently with this kind of a format as opposed to traditional marketing?
Well, you've heard people say that Facebook is a form of social media, right? And I think a lot of dentists misunderstand that because traditional media like billboards, television, radio, traditional media tends to be expensive. And it also tends to, in many dentists, have a mind that, you know, this makes me look desperate, or this is, you know, it just does not come across well with their patient base. Mm-hmm. Media isn't really the right term. It's really, as I've heard you say before, it's really just taking your internal marketing and moving that online. So Facebook isn't really traditional media. Facebook, again, is a relationship-based tool to allow you to stay in contact with your patients.
Yeah.
Right? And they've given you permission to do so. How great is that?
Yeah. I've noticed that those dental practices that seem to figure that out, they learn that you can talk about dental services on Facebook, and that's fine if it's interspersed with a number of other interactions with people and talking to people. One of our clients, I think it was yesterday, went and did fittings at a high school for mouth guards, which he does every year as a service to the school. They took a lot of photos, immediately published them on Facebook, and of course that's not talking about, he's not trying to pitch his wares in any way. He's just want to tell the story of something great he's doing in the community. And I noticed a lot of his patients in that reacted and thought, great, we're glad you're doing that, and have complimented him on that. So yeah, we've seen a lot of that.
The female consumer, who's typically the target market for most dental practices, right? We would agree that women are making most of the decisions. Women are the ones controlling the purse. Women are the ones who are making healthcare decisions for the family. Yeah. Women follow something that we call corporate halo, and they love to support businesses that give back to the community. And so for many, many years, dentists have been involved in things like this gentleman you just mentioned, who got involved by making mouth guards for the local football team. Now, in the old days, how quickly would somebody have known about that?
They wouldn't. They would have taken those photos and gone to the corner drugstore and printed them out and pinned them up in the practice, and a couple people may have seen them.
And maybe if they walk by in the hygiene op, they're going to go ahead and see, okay, there's the patient.
Yeah.
He was probably able to post those, and instantaneously everybody who was following him on Facebook maybe didn't realize he was involved with the high school.
That's right.
Everybody perhaps wrote back, wow, what a great thing, Dr. So-and-so, right?
Yeah. So it's immediate, it's free to publish, and I mean, why wouldn't a practice want to do that? I guess would be my question back to a practice. When they say, why would we? Well, why wouldn't you want to do that?
I mean, you'd be crazy not to do it. Yeah. What's funny is that dentists historically have been very apprehensive about media and marketing. I'm not sure how to do it. It's expensive. I don't want to appear desperate. I don't want to give away an exam. And really, Facebook isn't about any of those things. Yeah. Facebook is about communicating with your patients and taking your internal marketing online. Yeah. Having an opportunity to say, listen, maybe you're not sure that we did this. And of course, I'm sure patients responded, right? Did they write back and say, wow?
Yeah, already. And it's only been up for a day, and they're already getting reactions to it. So I know a lot of dental practices are used to being able to, when it comes to marketing, to be able to write a check to the Yellow Pages or write a check to the direct mail guys and then forget about marketing. Social media isn't the same animal. It requires some engagement in that. So to a practice that's saying, gosh, I don't have time to deal with this, do I actually have to participate? Why do they need to participate? And what would your answer be to that question?
Well, I think you see a lot of people, like you said, who think Facebook is just like anything else, that I'm going to write a check, I'm going to have my tools all built, and then what? Then what happens? And they forget that it's about the relationship with the patient. So much like when a patient comes in for their hygiene appointment or when they come in for a new patient exam, there's a conversation that starts. Sure. And that's really sort of the social aspect of social media. It's the art of taking that conversation online. So whereas you might have that patient in the chair and they'd be talking to you about what they did over the weekend or what you did over the weekend or maybe some things that you've been involved in, that same conversation, once the patient walks out the door, continues online. And if you have these great tools and you're not continuing that conversation on a daily basis, and remember, it doesn't necessarily have to be you as the dentist, it can be one of your team members. It's in a couple minutes a day, asking, engaging, and then responding in the same way that you and I are having this conversation right now.
Right. Okay. Great. Yeah, it kind of goes back to kind of visibility, top of mind awareness, visibility, and then shareability. The nice thing about social media is, unlike the conversation you would have in the operatory, which kind of stays there, which is great too, but these conversations that happen online are shareable. Whether the patient were to share them or you shared them or they were just visible on your wall, it's like letting people kind of eavesdrop on these kinds of conversations that really say a lot about the culture of your practice.
It's really generating a practice community. And doctors who've been in small towns for years have understood this concept and executed it beautifully. They've had patients over to the practice and maybe had a barbecue. or maybe they've gotten involved in the local high school, or maybe they've talked to patients as they see them out at the grocery store. It's some of these larger metro practices. We're sitting here in front of this big map and sort of thinking, gosh, not everybody's practicing in a small town anymore.
Yeah.
Not everybody has the opportunity to really understand that Facebook is about creating a community of your patients, and patients can see as you respond, like you said. That private operatory conversation has now been shifted, and other patients can interact and watch that happen. And it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see what happens and what people respond to.
Yeah. It's fun, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you do it, the more fun it becomes. And actually, the less time it takes, because you get in the habit of knowing how to post things quickly, and it doesn't need to be a big time consumer. One more quick question, Kristie. If a dentist is on Facebook for a couple of months and doing a good job at posting to the wall and that, what's maybe one thing they could really look to try to gauge their effectiveness, if they're doing this right, for lack of a better term?
I think always people are trying to look to the number of likes, and I don't necessarily think that's the best indicator.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what you want to look at is when you post, what's the response? How many people are posting back? How many people are commenting? And so you'll find that within your own market and within your own patient base, because every practice is unique, you may get a lot of comments when you post about the high school football team's score.
Yeah.
And you may not get hardly any comments when you post about the latest and greatest dental implant that you're featuring at the office.
Right.
So a good measure of success is watch what your patients comment back on and continue to give them that type of content. Okay? Many dentists make mistake and think that Facebook is really the place where they can share all their new CE and all this technology. And while that's a component of it, that's probably not the greatest measure. Is how many clinical articles did I post to my wall?
Yeah.
Right?
And while Facebook likes in and of themselves are certainly not the goal, we have found that it's easy for a dental practice to get a little discouraged, even if they're posting really good stuff, but they don't have hardly any likes yet. So if they only have 20 or 30 people following, it's not that they're doing something wrong. They may not be getting a lot of comments because there's just not enough momentum there. There's not enough people yet. So I think if they can not be discouraged, try to build those likes, but at the same time post effectively, like you've mentioned, that can help them think differently about their wall. So, all right, well, that's our discussion today, Orange Couch discussion. We've had Kristie Nation here. Thank you, Kristie, for being here.
Thanks, Jack.
Taking the time. If you have other questions for Kristie, she loves talking about social media. She's passionate about it, and you can reach her on her Facebook page, which is on your screen. Thanks from My Social Practice. Ta-da!
That's good.